right, so Judge Sherry Murphy sends them back. We know they've been deliberating already. That happened just a little while ago, and I just will say this. The prosecution really tried to focus on two things. Number one, if you remember the video, Tyler gets pushed back into the street. At that point, he's trying to claim that the threat was over. Right? And the other thing he's claiming is about the duty to retreat. He says, you were in the street, he was in the street. Why didn't you guys just leave at that point? 2 points that really help the prosecution. We have to see how it all plays out. Let's bring in our guest, still with us, criminal defense attorney Jeff Wolf. Jeff, great to see you. Thank you so much for being with us on the program. Love to get your thoughts on what you think played out there and what this jury might be looking for by asking for that particular testimony.
Well, Michael, I think they're looking for exactly what you've been mentioning. They're trying to figure out whether he was defending his friend to go towards his self-defense and defense of others claim that he's got here. That is the only thing that can explain them being deadlocked and being out this long on this case. And I think what the prosecution and the defense have here is something that they are arguing in this trial versus what the jury is back in that room deliberating. What the jury seems to be deliberating is what actually happened that night, which is a 16-year-old kid in a situation that is different than the grown man sitting in the courtroom. The prosecution, as you just heard in that video, is aggressively cross-examining a grown man, but the person that was standing in the middle of that fight was a 16-year-old scared kid. And I think that is what the jury is trying to figure out, is was that 16-year-old kid reasonably scared for himself and his friend? And I think that that's going to be what turns this jury, is do they think a 16-year-old scared kid is different from the grown man sitting in the courtroom?
All right, and let me ask you this, Jeffrey. We know with James McGrath, the top charge is murder, and then first-degree manslaughter, reckless. So they do have lessers to consider. In your opinion, just hearing the direct examination of what he says happened with Tyler and his best friend was out there getting beaten up and he wasn't going to leave him, versus a little bit of the cross-examination and why didn't you retreat, where do you think they might be leaning in those top charges when it comes to the death of James McGrath?
It is so hard to know where a deadlocked, long deliberating jury is leaning, because it's hard to know exactly what they're hanging their hat on. But I will say that the longer they are out, the more somebody is back there saying that they can't convict this kid, because a jury that is ready to convict is usually going to come back fairly quickly. That is my opinion.
And it's almost 10 hours they've been deliberating. All right, Jeffrey, stand by. A lot to talk about. Coming up next, we will head back to Iowa for the Widow's Words murder trial for Karina Cooper. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right. 10 hours of deliberating. 2 times they've said we cannot reach a verdict. They were given instructions this morning to keep trying. They're coming back again in the morning. Let's get Jeffrey Wolf to weigh in. What do you think? We know now she just has to close the courthouse at the end of the business day. No surprise there. They'll come back in the morning. They will resume on day three, right, of deliberating.
Yeah, I mean, judges got to let the courthouse security go home at some point, right? Some judges will keep security there as long as the jury asks to be held. But if a jury says they're not close, people got to go home. They sleep on it. They come back in the morning. Sometimes you see those early morning verdicts. People come back in the morning with a fresh head. They come in, they hit it, and sometimes they come in with a verdict.
Jeffrey, if you're the defense attorney in this case, how are you feeling right now going home based on what we've seen over the course of this day?
It really depends how you feel about that testimony that they listen to. If you feel good about it, you think, okay, they're going to go home, they're going to sleep on that testimony they heard, they're going to come back, and they're going to give me my verdict. If you feel bad about that testimony, you hope that they go home, sleep, and forget all about it and come back and start afresh with something new.
Jeff, how are you feeling about the testimony that we heard?
I feel pretty good about it, because my hope is that they feel that the prosecutor the way I felt about him. I thought he was a bully in that testimony that they played on cross. You got a 16-year-old kid and you're arguing with him about whether it was a semicircle or a circle. A 16-year-old kid doesn't view an open-ended circle as a way he's going to get away from a bunch of people beating up him and his friend. So I feel good for the defense with that testimony.
And don't forget there was beer. Now, a lot of the witnesses said they'd had 2 beers. I'm a little suspicious of that, but I'm just saying there was drinking involved as well. You add that to the mix. What kid is necessary necessarily going to remember the details. Let me ask you this. So, and Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, the very first "we are hopelessly deadlocked" was on the murder charge. And she said you can start at the other charge and work your way the other direction. What does that mean to you that they were deadlocked on murder and maybe now they started at the other end and they're still not there yet?
Well, I think if they were deadlocked on murder and then you started a lower charge, you're saying to yourselves, well, if the judge is saying if you're deadlocked on murder, start working on the other charges, usually as a jury, you're saying, okay, we can't do murder because we're not able to agree on that. So now what you're trying to do, and it's been hours since they did that, they're probably not coming to agreement on the lower charges either. So at some point they may have to punt and say, we can't convict this kid. We can't agree that he did this. And so I think that that's what it means, is that they have moved on from murder and now they're just trying to decide if they can convict of anything.
Yeah, and they put a note in last night that they then were deadlocked on all the other charges.
Oh, thank you. That's right. That's the part I didn't remember.
All right, thanks to Jeffrey Wolf for joining us today. Truly appreciate it, Jeff. We'll see you soon, folks. Stick around. Coming up, more testimony in the Widow's Words murder trial, so please stay with us here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.